DCEU, my name is Ryan, and today I'm excited to add a brand new collection of minifigures to my LEGO room. After the massive project that was showcasing my Marvel display cases, I've been eager to explore the other side of the superhero spectrum with DC. But I want to take a different approach here because, well, one, I don't have the funds to maintain two giant ongoing collection of minifigures. In fact, I could probably fill an entire display case with just Batman figures. So I want to look at a specific subset of DC figures. I want to collect every minifigure from the now defunct DC Extended Universe, or DCEU for short. There are only about 40 DCEU minifigures according to my research, and spoiler alert, there might be some controversial inclusions and exclusions to my list. Regardless, I currently own none of these figures. I'm starting from scratch. Now, a normal person might just add all the figures to a Bricklink wanted list, hit buy all, add them all to cart, and be done, but that's no fun. I want to make this a challenge. So rule number one, I'm only allowed one Bricklink order with a budget of up to $50. And big thanks to you guys for helping me decide on that limit. And rule number two, I can't buy figures online for the asking price. Instead, I have to either negotiate or bid. Now when it comes to buying in person or buying sets, anything goes. So with these criteria in mind and my list of figures ready to go, I'm going to start my collecting journey at the local Toy Fair Expo that just happens to be in town this weekend. Now if you haven't been to a massive toy fair, it can almost be overwhelming. There are a lot of subset of toys. And I'm on a mission for LEGO minifigures, which while they do have a massive presence at stores like Target and Walmart, at toy fairs, it's just kind of a sliver of what's available. So I'm sure you can imagine my excitement when I found this massive display of figures, the holy grail if you will. But all of these figures were off-brand. They were fakes, and while I do love fake minifigures, for this challenge I want the real deal only. So I kept looking until I found a second holy grail, but again, they were all fake. In fact, not many people were selling just figures. Many sellers were prioritizing sets, and sealed retired sets can be really expensive, especially at conventions in person. In fact, one booth did have DC sets with figures I'm looking for, but a set that originally retailed for $23 on LEGO.com was being sold for $90. I really think I can do better than that, especially on eBay, so I'm gonna press my luck and see if I can find these figures cheaper elsewhere. Then I came across Alternate Worlds, the first actual booth that sold real figures, with no luck at first with the display case, but an unsorted figure bag had my first win of the day, a yellow Parademon. Yeah, it's not much, but it is one figure down, and I'm glad I didn't leave the first building empty-handed. And thankfully, there was still a whole other building left to explore. But it's at this point that I realize I'm kind of looking for a LEGO needle in the proverbial haystack. I'm at a toy expo, looking for figures, but I'm looking for official LEGO minifigures, but I'm looking for official LEGO DC minifigures, but I'm looking for official LEGO DCEU minifigures. This might be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I was pretty demoralized when the second building had even more off-brand figures. But then another find, LexCorp employee number 1. Now, once again, not a big victory, but I'm happy I'm finding any figures. And after a few more minutes of searching, I come across Chubby Bricks and jackpot. Real figures, 3 for $10, including LexCorp employee number 2, Cheetah, and Feora. The booth also had a really fun spot the fake game that I aced. Feeling confident, I scoured more and more bags of figures and came across some more comic Batman, which for any other collection of DC figures would have been fine, but for me, I'm only looking for DCEU minifigures. But then, last table, last major find, and it's a big one, Man of Steel Superman. And with the Toy Fair being a quasi-moderate success with how many figures I found, again, needle in haystack, I came home and opened up eBay to see if I could round out day one with some more finds. Now, my only concern going after lots of figures on eBay is repeat minifigures, and I did kind of buy some random ones at the Toy Fair, so that might be a bit difficult. Case in point, I put an offer up on this Justice League set with a repeat figure in the Parademon, and the offer was quickly accepted, which means I now have Aquaman and 2 Atlantean guards. But how about that Aquaman set that was priced at $90 at the Toy Fair? Can I do better on eBay? I do find an auction for that set, and I put my bid well under $90. So fingers crossed here. And while I wait for that auction to finish, there are 2 sets I can buy really easily to get 2 quick figures. The Shazam Poly Bag, which included the DCEU Shazam minifigure, and this Jor-El poly bag, which was a rare win for Etsy, as that was the site that had the cheapest price. Then I come across this eBay seller who's a gold mine for DCEU minifigures. But remember, I can't buy figures online for the asking price, and there are no auctions or even offers for his listings. So let's try something different. Let's message him and see if I can put an offer in for a bulk of figures, which is something I've never done before. And he agrees, which means I now have BVS Superman, Armored Batman with no cape, Armored Zod, Unarmored Zod, Man of Steel Lois Lane, The Flash, Toran, and BVS Batman. This eBay seller was a great way to end out day one, especially with The Flash, as he can go for almost $30. But actually, the day wasn't over yet. I was in bed, and I came across this auction for the Wonder Woman 1984 figures. With no bids and a few minutes left, a dream find for any collector. And as I'm closing my eyes to go to bed, it's an easy win, adding Wonder Woman in her golden armor and Maxwell Lord to my collection. And welcome to day 2 of my LEGO DCEU minifigure collecting journey. The toy fair has now left town, so let's hop right onto eBay and see what we can find. So we have this armored Batman with a cape at a pretty low price even with shipping. A great price for that figure that I can't buy. But I can offer $6, and he accepts. I can add armored Batman with a cape to my collection. Then I see a seller that has a super cheap listing for Lex Luthor. Again, I can't buy it, but I wonder if he has any other DC figures I can bundle him with, kinda like what I did yesterday. No luck there, but he does have young Nick Fury. Now, I already have that figure, but he might come in handy later. First, let's see if the seller accepts my offer, which he does. Fantastic. Lex Luthor is mine. Now, how about the set that was released alongside the Wonder Woman movie? There are only 2 figures in that set, both of which are exclusive to it, Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, so maybe it's cheaper just to buy the set? I found a listing on eBay for around $30, which, considering the fact that the Wonder Woman figure herself values at $31, yeah, that's worth it. Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman are added to the collection. Now, as I'm searching for figures on eBay, I get a lot of offers from sellers, but remember, I can't buy those as that becomes the asking price. But maybe I can counter offer. I want to lower the price as low as I can go, but I don't want to make the sellers reject my offer. Thankfully, both sellers accept my counter offers. So now I have Batman with stubble, BVS Lois, and Superman with boot prints. With that, I think we've tapped out the potential for eBay for today, so how about other sites? What about Whatnot? Now, I'm not sponsored by them at all, but I have seen countless ads for them, and it would be kind of cool to get at least one figure from this site. Whatnot is basically eBay and Twitch combined, and from my initial browsing, people seem to be having fun, but the quality of the streams just kind of felt off. Everyone selling gave off the vibe of carnival barkers and backdoor salesmen. Now, that's not to say the sellers were actually carnival barkers or backdoor salesmen. In fact, a lot of them are probably just amateur collectors trying to get rid of some of their backstock. But with the live stream element, you kind of had to wait until your auction item was up, which is close to how real life auctions work, but sitting through other auctions can get boring. So maybe I can find a listing that allows for offers. And soon after, I came across a listing for this Colonel Hardy minifigure with only one image and no verification that it's actually a real minifigure. That's kind of a red flag, and on most circumstances I wouldn't do it, but I put my offer in anyway. And the site immediately asked for a payment method. Now, this is similar to eBay, but I just don't feel comfortable putting my credit card information on a site that just kind of popped up out of nowhere with a bunch of ads. So I find a card that's about to expire in a month, and I use that instead. And while I'm here, I found a BVS Wonder Woman figure from the same seller, so let's try a 20% discounted offer. Now we just wait and see what happens and hope my credit card isn't charged an absurd amount of money. And hey, while I'm feeling risky, let's try Facebook Marketplace. I search for LEGO DC, and what's this? Nightmare Batman for only $1? No, of course not. It's a classic Facebook Marketplace tactic. You either set the price as free, or $1, or even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just to get people to click into the listing, thus boosting the visibility for the seller. Now, thankfully, the actual price for the item listing is $20, which is close to the $18 value on brickeconomy.com. So that's 3 more figures to round out day 2. Nightmare Batman, Parademon in green with collapsed wings, and Parademon in green with extended wings. Good morning and welcome to day 3 of this challenge. We are starting off well by winning the eBay bid for the Aquaman set at about 30 bucks, which is well under the $90 asking price at the toy fair. So adding Aquaman, Mera, and Black Manta to the collection. I want to keep this win streak going, and you know where I haven't checked yet? Goodwill. Now, both Goodwill locations near me never sell LEGO sets and never sell LEGO minifigures, but maybe shopgoodwill.com might turn up something. I searched for LEGO DC, LEGO Justice League, LEGO DC Universe, and at first I get a lot of video game listings, as that makes sense. Goodwill often sells old video games for dirt cheap, and LEGO DC has, what, like 4 or 5 video games? But then I come across this, a LEGO Tactical Batman minifigure auction for under $10. This seems too good to be true, and chances are I'll probably end up with a fake LEGO Batman minifigure when all's said and done, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't immensely curious about this listing. So once again, almost expired credit card, I put my bid in, and please, if you're collecting minifigures yourself, only bid what you can afford to lose, and expect to lose entirely on riskier sites or listings that seem too good to be true. And speaking of risky, I noticed 2 separate withdrawals from my bank account from Whatnot. I checked my email and both Whatnot offers were accepted, they just went into my spam folder. Now, oddly enough, the seller decided not to combine my purchases into one withdrawal, but either way, I have 2 new figures, Colonel Hardy and BVS Wonder Woman. Now, in theory, I only have a few figures left to collect. It's theory because I won't know if any of these riskier purchases were successful until the packages arrive in the mail. Either way, I think it's time to use my 1 Bricklink order. I want to buy Cyborg here, and since I already have Victor's head, who he shares the part with young Nick Fury, I can buy the rest of his body for much cheaper. The total order is only $25. Booyah! Added Cyborg to my collection. And this brings me to potentially the most controversial inclusion in the DCEU minifigure collection, that being Harley Quinn. While Harley Quinn can only be found in a set from the LEGO Movie 2, not only does her figure design match the look of her Suicide Squad costume, but the character was portrayed by Margot Robbie in both films. She obviously plays the character in live action, but she also voiced the character for the LEGO Movie 2, so I think that counts, and I'm putting her on the list. On eBay, I found an auction listing for under $200, which is a pretty good deal considering a lot of listings go for over $220. So let's put a bid in and see if we can win. And while we wait for this auction, there's another figure I was debating including in this list, but ended up not doing so, that being Michael Keaton's Batman. He was featured prominently in a DCEU film, that being The Flash, kind of like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. That being said, it's kind of ambiguous whether he's playing the exact same Batman from the Tim Burton movies, or kind of just a similar variant. I'd rewatched the plate of spaghetti scene, but I didn't really enjoy the Flash film all that much. So because of that ambiguity, I'm not going to include the Tim Burton Batman figures in this collection. And there's one more figure that didn't make the cut, and it's a big one. Black Suit Superman from Comic-Con. And I know that could be considered a cop-out because of just how expensive he is, but I have a reason. When the figure was first unveiled in July of 2013, the official LEGO account posted this, quote, "An alternate Superman from DC Comics is one of 4 limited edition superhero figures handed out at the LEGO booth at Comic-Con." That from DC Comics signals to me this is an alternate Superman based on his comic appearances with the black suit and not his film appearances. Now you could argue that the design of the suit and face are identical to Henry Cavill's Superman, and the black suit did appear in Man of Steel in a dream sequence, but LEGO does say this is a comic figure and the film in question came out just a month before Comic-Con. I don't think LEGO knew about the dream sequence and just had the torso design on standby. So for this challenge, Comic-Con Superman does not make the cut. It's day 4 of my DCEU minifigure challenge, and I think we have a chance of finishing today, at least the purchasing part, so let's see if we won that Harley Quinn auction on eBay. It finished late last night, and we didn't win. Well, that kinda stinks. I was on a hot streak there with auctions. Guess you can't win them all. So let's put in an offer for the second lowest price Harley Quinn and see if that works. Thankfully, it does, and we can add Harley Quinn to our collection. But then, the packages start arriving in the mail, and surprisingly, the first one up is from Whatnot. Moment of truth, and it's actually Colonel Hardy and Wonder Woman figures. Both are real LEGO. That's a big relief there. But I'll be keeping a close eye on my bank statements for any more charges from Whatnot, just to be safe. Now, to be clear, I can't legally say that Whatnot is a scam, but I can say it feels really sketchy buying from that site, especially because, again, it just kind of popped up out of nowhere with a ton of advertising. And speaking of sketchy, I also got a package from shopgoodwill.com today, and sure enough, it's Tactical Batman, the real figure. I checked the head, the legs, everything is legitimate here. I'm honestly shocked it's the real figure for under $15. That's a steal, but I do need to caveat all of these sketchy purchases with the disclaimer that you really shouldn't be doing these kind of risky purchases unless, again, you can afford to lose every penny you spend on those sites and expect nothing in return. I wouldn't have been surprised if the packages from Whatnot and Goodwill were just like rocks. There's always the chance you come across great deals on those sites, but be very wary of every listing and verify every purchase. But with those riskier purchases now deemed a success, I can kind of just sit back and relax and wait for all the mail to arrive with all of my DCEU minifigures. It's been a couple of days of waiting for mail to arrive, and it kind of all came in one giant flood of packages, almost covering our doorstep, and my wife gave me a look as to say, just how many Legos did you order, Ryan? And the answer is the entire collection of DCEU minifigures. So let's take a look at each figure one at a time in release order. Starting with Man of Steel Superman, Zod without his power armor, Colonel Hardy, Zod with body armor, Feora, Tor-Am, Lois Lane, Jor-El, BVS Superman, Armored Batman with a cape, Armored Batman without a cape, Batman, LexCorp Employee Number 1, LexCorp Employee Number 2, Lex Luthor, Superman with a boot print, Wonder Woman, BVS Lois Lane, Steve Trevor, Wonder Woman with a brighter color palette, Aquaman, Atlantean Guard Number 1, Atlantean Guard Number 2, Yellow Parademon, Batman with stubble, The Flash, Green Parademon with extended wings, Green Parademon with shorter wings, Cyborg, Tactical Batman, Mera, Aquaman in a lighter green color palette, Black Manta, Nightmare Batman, Shazam, Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman in her golden armor, Maxwell Lord, and Cheetah. I'll be honest, when I was planning this video, I was wholeheartedly expecting the DCEU LEGO minifigures to follow the quality of the films, that being disappointing on the whole, with a couple of bright spots and lacking cohesion. But in looking over this collection, the DCEU minifigures are rather remarkable. The hero designs have amazing texturing and shading. The colors are bold but not overly bright, and the amount of printing coverage is almost unheard of. Majority of the figures have torso and leg printing, which even in 2024 is kind of insane. The Parademon cannon fodder figures, the no-name Atlantean Guard figures, every Man of Steel Kryptonian, all have full body designs. Even after a $500 Marvel set, we're still waiting for Captain America to have leg printing. The artwork on these figures speak not only to the DC heroes and villains, but also to the Zack Snyder aesthetic. All of the new molded pieces work wonderfully, like the Kryptonian headpieces, Cyborg's arm, Wonder Woman's hair, and the Atlantean helmets. LEGO and their designers were successful in translating costume design that was specifically made for a certain color palette and filmic look into minifigures that work in any environment. It's pretty clear that while the executives at Warner Brothers had waning faith in the DC universe, with increasing studio control and more sporadic decision making along the way, LEGO was fully committed to making these figures as great as they possibly could be. You almost have to feel bad for LEGO because no doubt the toy sales for the DCEU sets plummeted dramatically alongside the box office for the films, yet LEGO was committed every step of the way, even to the last set. And as the brand finally makes the shift from DC sets to only Batman sets, it's clear their faith in the brand is shaken. LEGO put so much effort and work with new designs and new molded pieces into a film series that was in a tailspin since film number 2. The LEGO DCEU minifigure collection allows for a unique look into the split between film and marketing. Whenever an amazing trailer comes out for a film or a LEGO set is released, you have to remember there are 2 different teams of artists working on the product versus the film, and they only know a smidge more about the movie information-wise than you and I do. They have no idea if the movie's going to be good or bad, they just want their output to be excellent so they can get future contracts with studios. And when the film is good, it can improve your connection to the toys, or it can make you feel nostalgic over an early teaser trailer. One of the reasons I have a strong tie with my Marvel collection is because the films are, more often than not, crowd-pleasing solid movies. I almost wish I could separate the DCEU minifigures from the films they represent, because the figures themselves are fantastic and well deserving of a spot in my LEGO room. But there's still one more spot left in my display case. While it took 16 years of the MCU to finally get a Kevin Feige minifigure, I think this collection is well deserving of a custom Zack Snyder minifigure. For Zack, I'm using this dark brown spiky hairpiece, the new Indiana Jones head, a custom torso design, but I'm also replacing the arms with that from Alice in Wonderland, and dark blue legs. I think the final figure looks pretty close to Zack Snyder, and he rounds out my new collection of DCEU minifigures. I should say new complete collection, because remember, there are no more figures left to collect. The DCEU is now defunct, and I don't see LEGO making any sets based on the earlier films. Now, will they make figures and sets based on the new James Gunn, Peter Safran DC Studios? I don't know. I think they're fully committed to making only Batman until the DC movies kind of prove themselves successful enough to merit toy sales. So for now, I am done collecting DC figures, and I'd love to know what's your favorite figure from the DCEU. Let me know in the comment section down below, and as always, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.